Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Hope signs new LLC documents after Carter is tricked? The Bold and the Beautiful teasers indicate that Carter Walton feels bad about the takeover. Hope Logan has heard that from Carter. Could Hope pull off one last prank now that she's about to lose Carter and all she's gained from the affair? Let's talk about what might occur next in this situation as you read on. Carter Walton's deception. Supporters are aware that Carter and Hope participated in the coup. However, the LLC papers just list Carter's name. Carter's takeover of Forrester Creations involves Hope, but the COO is solely accountable. Hope may enjoy all the benefits because she is fortunate enough to be dating Carter. But it seems that Hope's initial goal was simply to resurrect her fashion company. Hope hasn't mentioned or exhibited much interest in her line since the takeover. Getting revenge on Steffi Forrester Finnegan seems to be Hope's top objective. Remorse and hindsight. He went back to Carter and said to Hope that he thought they had taken the coup far enough. Carter suggested that they just return the business. Carter gave Ridge Forrester a hug as well. Disgrace and rejection. Spoilers for the Bold and the Beautiful indicate that Carter seriously questions whether Hope is his soulmate. At first, Carter believed that Hope was the only person who had faith in him. However, even though he hasn't yet realized it, Carter is starting to see Hope's true nature. It's evident from Carter's face. Carter might think he loves Hope, but he's also wondering if everyone is right. Hope Logan's malevolent action. It appears that everyone is becoming aware of the genuine Hope. Hope's mother is starting to doubt her as well. When Hope knows she is going to lose her reign, what happens? Before Carter can give the business back to the Forrester family, will she take drastic measures? Will Hope act like she's rooting for Carter in order to throw a curveball? As the takeover took place, Carter told Hope his entire plan. What would prevent Hope from registering the company in her own name and doing the same to Carter? Carter might miss something important because his shoulders are so heavy. Hope is there to help Carter, after all. Why doesn't she become the next manager at Forrester Creations? I hope Logan's animosity for Forrester causes him to lose both his home and his career. Under the cold glare of recessed lighting, Hope Logan had always imagined the boardroom at Forrester Creations as a gilded cage where family loyalty and ambition clashed. Now, however, the air hummed with an unidentified tension as she stood outside in the hallway, her fingers moist against the leather portfolio that held her proposed Hope for the Future line. There is no background or sign of a storm developing, and Steffi's message had been succinct: emergency meeting. 10 a.m. Don't be late. Hope squared her shoulders, straightened her ivory blazer, and pushed through the door. Everyone's eyes were on her. Ridge had a mysterious look on his face as he sat at the head of the table. With her well-groomed fingers curled and a smile twitching at the corner of her mouth, Steffi stood to his right. Thomas stared at his hands and was unusually quiet. Forrester executives, investors, and Eric's vacant seat made the rest of the board feel as though a jury had already made a decision. Hope, Ridge responded in a serious, phony mournful tone. We've called this meeting to address concerns about your role at Forrester. Are you worried? Hope's chuckle was brittle. The Hope for the Future line is doing better than it did last quarter. Orders are being doubled by retailers. This isn't about sales, Steffi said, opening a folder, it's about ethics. A projector flickered on, revealing damning images, a chain of leaked emails in which Hope criticized Eric's outdated vision to a junior designer, intercut with out-of-context quotes from interviews, and grainy security footage of her arguing with Zend in the design studio. Hope's blood turned cold. The email was legitimate, a private tirade after Eric had rejected her sustainable fabric initiative, but the rest? Manipulated. Weaponized. Who was responsible for this? With a quivering voice, she demanded. Is it important? You've been undermining the family for years, Steffi said, leaning back triumphantly. We are reconsidering our choices. Your progressive agenda is being pushed as though the rest of us were leftovers. This is crazy. You know that I wouldn't harm Forrester, I said, turning to face Ridge. I've dedicated my entire life to this business. The board feels your vision no longer aligns with our brand, Ridge said, avoiding her gaze. With immediate effect, hope for the future has been suspended. You have to leave your property and turn over any assets belonging to the business. Are you letting me go? The words hardly register. After everything, the late hours, the struggles to update their designs, and the attempts she had made to honor Beth's legacy via her work, this cannot be happening. Eventually, Thomas said in a deadpan voice, "It's not just the job, Hope. Corporate housing is a privilege," Steffi said quietly, "one we can't extend to someone actively sabotaging us." Steffi slid the eviction paperwork across the table. Hope's penthouse, the stunning, sun-drenched room in the Forrester-owned tower where she had raised Beth, hosted family vacations, and rebuilt her life after Liam's death, was being recovered. Hope sank to her knees and clutched the table, her rings scuffing the polished wood. "Are you throwing me out of my house? What is Beth meant to do? Next week is the start of school." Ridge softly clarified, "Beth is a Forrester, and she will always have a place with us." Waited until Brooke was in Rome with Donna, Katie was enmeshed with Bill's current issue, and she had no remaining allies. The menace lingered in the air, piercing and frightening. "We. Not you." Hope's vision blurred. They had planned it. The paparazzi swarmed the curb, probably alerted by Steffi's PR team, as Hope trudged a cardboard box of personal belongings to her car through the lobby, which was a flurry of marble and scrutinizing looks. "Hope. Come on over. Did you really give Spectra access to blueprints?" Ignoring the shouts, she bowed her head and asked, "Are you and Thomas reconciled?" until she was shoved into a service elevator by a hand. "Thomas. Naturally." She grumbled and shrugged him away, asking, "What the hell are you doing?" "I'm attempting to assist." "I had no idea they would go this far," he said, looking distressed, his eyes bloodshot, his pricey stubble uneven. "Dad and Steffi are scared of you. Of what you represent. Integrity, and what is that?" Thomas combed his hair and said, "Change. You're challenging them. Make them feel outdated. For months, Steffi has been lying to Dad about you planning a coup and wanting to sell Forrester to a rival. So you thought she was real?" Hope's laugh was almost hysterical. "After everything we'd been through? I tried to protect you, but Dad is paranoid. Ever since Grandpa's health declined, he has been looking for enemies everywhere." Thomas winced. He pulled a flash disk out of his pocket. "Steffi's notes and copies of the altered files are attached. Use it to fight back." Hope concentrated on the driving. "What makes you credible? This could be another setup." "Because I love you." The statement was unvarnished and unadulterated. "They're ruining you because of it. Not like I used to, not obsessively. But you're the best of us, Hope. Tell Steffi that she has won the battle," she said, pocketing the drive as her resolve grew. "Not the war." The flat was already half empty when Hope arrived. With clinical speed, the movers in their Forrester-embroidered uniforms placed Beth's toys in containers. One of them said, "Ma'am, you have until 8 p.m. to remove personal items," without looking into her eyes. Beth held her stuffed wolf, Luna, while she sat cross-legged on the floor. "Why are they taking my books, Mommy?" "We're going on an adventure, sweetie," Hope said, grabbing her and breathing in the strawberry scent of her hair. "Just us for a little while." But the reality was more somber. Brooke's frantic calls ended up in voicemail, and her accounts were frozen, pending an investigation into corporate espionage. Liam was in meetings, as one might anticipate. Even the normally impartial Carter offered evasive platitudes. They found themselves stranded in a budget motel off the 405 at twilight, with Beth dozing off under flimsy sheets and Luna's tail sticking out of her clutch. As Hope rummaged through her laptop's flash drive, she was really angry. The worst of all was a flagged message to Ridge that read, "Once she's broke, Beth comes to us." Steffi's conversations were damning, "Make sure the eviction is airtight. No loopholes. Use the media to portray her as unstable. Full custody. Hope's stomach churned. This was about erasing her, not just about power. Steffi had never forgiven Bella for stealing Liam, for being Brooke's daughter, and for being kind, which Steffi saw as a weakness. She would take advantage of Hope's weakness to take Beth, the only thing that mattered. She was startled by a knock. Douglas was standing at the doorway with a duffel bag and a pale face. "Aunt Steffi also threw me out," he said. "I'm too influenced by you," she said. With a broken heart, Hope pulled him in. "Where is Thomas?" Douglas gave her a burner phone and said, "Fighting with Dad. He told me to find you. He said utilize it. They are tracking your other one." At midnight, a single text message from an unidentified number vibrated on the phone, "Meet me at the docks. Come alone." As Hope got closer to the dark figure leaning against a rusted warehouse door, the fog held onto her skin and the Santa Monica docks smelled of diesel and fish. With her neon pink hair fading but her grin as sharp as ever, Sally Spectra stepped out into the dim light of a street lamp and said, "Took you long enough." Hope blinked. "Sally? Are you alive?" "Specters look like cockroaches, honey." "I heard you were getting the whole Forrester crucifixion," Sally said, lighting a cigarette, the fire casting a menacing glare. "We survive everything. Nasty business. Why am I here?" "Blackmail," Sally said, dropping a manila box at her feet. "Steffi has been transferring your espionage money to foreign accounts. Ridge is aware." She grinned and said, "I covered it up to protect the family." "Does this sound familiar?" Hope took the envelope and said, "Why assist me?" "Because my favorite thing to do is watch Forresters devour their own." Sally's sneer waned. "Plus, you're the only one who ever treated me like a person, not a punchline." Forrester's Friday lunch crowd frequents Il Giardino, where the confrontation took place. With the proof in hand, Hope barged in with Sally and a lawyer. Steffi's dish clattered as her fork struck it. Hope said, "You have 3 options," her voice cutting through the clatter of cutlery. "Reinstate me, drop the eviction, and issue a public apology, or I release every dirty secret in this envelope to the press." Ridge was screeching in his chair. "You're bluffing." On his linguine, Sally placed printed financial statements. "Try her." Steffi lost her temper. "Would you ruin your own family?" The words, "You're not my family," said Hope icily. "You are my enemies. And I do not lose to opponents." Ultimately, the Forresters gave up. Although Hope's apartment and job were returned, the expense persisted. Ash was trussed. Even though she was safe, Beth winced at more voices. Douglas, a melancholy shadow of the child he used to be, moved in permanently. Hope stood on her rebuilt balcony at midnight, her unshed tears blending with the city lights. As Sally said, "You beat them by being superior. You can't overcome Forresters by playing fair." Even though she had forgotten what better meant, Hope Logan swore that no one would ever again make her helpless when the wind rang the Forrester Tower bell in the distance. Will Carter give Ridge and Steffi back control of his new LLC paperwork? Carter Walton may finally proceed with some new LLC documents, according to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, but will he actually return control to Ridge and Steffi Forrester? Fans of BMB will remember that Carter falsely claimed to be the manager of the LLC, deceiving Steffi and Ridge. Ridge and Steffi signed everything, giving Forrester control, because they trusted Carter. Forrester Creations is currently under Carter's leadership, but this cannot last forever. At some point, the Forresters will have to regain their corporation, which is why Carter is already having a moral problem. Brooke Logan has been putting a lot of effort into convincing Carter that he must repair the harm this coup has created. If Carter makes amends, he can still restore his friendship with Ridge. Through her scheme with Steffi, Daphne Rose has also been attempting to get in touch with Carter. Carter may eventually step down and return power to Forrester now that he is under more pressure. This story seems to have a really disappointing ending if Carter just gives in and does the right thing. If Justin Barber had helped the Forresters come up with a legal plan to take over the company by force, that would have been more satisfying. However, there is no doubt that a large number of spectators are prepared for this drama to conclude in one way or another. Perhaps the fact that it occurs is more important than how it occurs. Naturally, we have to take into account the possibility of a snag that could make this process take even longer. Even though Carter may have prepared new LLC documentation and planned to submit it accurately, he may change his mind. Just as Carter is ready to give Steffi and Ridge their power back, he might find out that Daphne is a plant. When his relationship with Hope Logan is singled out, Carter might snap and give up on trying to restore Forrester power. In any event, we anticipate more business unrest, so keep an eye out for any exciting developments. Stay tuned for updates on Carter's goals, as teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful indicate that he will have to make some tough choices in the upcoming episodes. Sheila becomes cunning with Remy, and Steffi finds out that Poppy had an affair with Finn. Steffi Forrester had been pacing the terrace for hours, her phone burning a hole in her hand, replaying the voicemail that had changed her life, and the cloying sweetness of the jasmine perfume that hung heavy in the air outside her cliffside villa did little to mask the acid bubbling in her gut. "Steffi, this is Poppy. We must speak." Sheila's latest prank, a peace offering of poisoned chocolates sent to Hayes daycare, naturally, had caused her to initially ignore the call, but as midnight drew near and Finn's texts grew more ambiguous, Steffi's mistrust turned to fear. "It's about Finn." Poppy's voice trembled unmistakably, a mixture of regret and desperation that sparked Steffi's intuition. The older woman looked distressed, her normally brilliant auburn hair frizzing at the roots and her sequin jacket clashing with the dark circles under her eyes. She found Poppy at Il Giardino, huddled into a shaded corner seat, her neon pink nails tapping frantically across her martini glass. Steffi slid onto the seat opposite her, her voice sharp. "Start talking." "Not here," Poppy said softly, reaching for Steffi's hand. Poppy's eyes darted around the room before settling on a familiar face at the bar, Remy Dubois, a slick-talking investor who had been investigating Forrester Creations for weeks. Steffi had written him off as harmless, all charm and hollow promises, but the way Poppy stiffened at the sight of him sent a fresh wave of uneasiness through her. Steffi flinched and said, "Here. Now." Poppy, fresh off a heated argument with Bill over Luna's paternity, an open bar, a charity gala last month, 2 lonely souls, too many glasses of champagne, and a hotel room key card that neither could quite remember swiping. "It was one night," Poppy pleaded, tears smearing her mascara, "a stupid and pointless mistake. I never meant to hurt you or Luna." Steffi said, "Luna?" Her voice broke. With a lovely, trusting face, Luna, who had spent weeks bonding with Poppy through art projects and late-night ice cream excursions, sprung to mind. "Poppy's like the cool aunt I never had," Luna had just said. "You slept with my husband, and you're worried about Luna?" Looking across the cafe, Remy narrowed his eyes. Steffi didn't care who heard, let the vipers feast and let the whole city know. Crumpling, Poppy said, "Finn wanted to tell you. I pleaded with him not to. I thought I could figure it out." "Repair it?" With a hollow laugh, Steffi said, "You don't mend grenades. You just hope the shrapnel misses." Hours later, Finn found her on the beach, the storm in her chest reflected in the raging waves. He had a melancholy and sterile odor. "Steffi, please, let me explain." She didn't look back. "How did you fuck my cousin's girlfriend?" "Explain what? Or how did you spend weeks lying to me?" "That wasn't the case. After Sheila got to Hayes School, I was a complete mess," Finn said, grabbing her by the shoulders and making her face him. "You were distant and angry. Poppy was just there." Steffi flinched. "Oh, is this my fault?" "No. That's not." Steffi wanted to pull the wedding band from Finn's finger as soon as he ran his fingers through his hair and the moonlight caught it. "I've never loved her." It was a moment of vulnerability. "I'm going to stop it. I will do anything." Steffi snarled, "You don't get to end it, but I do." She abandoned him to stand in the surf, the sea drowning out his cries. "Perfect. People became docile because of their desperation. Sheila Carter, meanwhile, had been busy. She drank a bourbon while watching Remy Dubois through the smoky fog. He had been messaging non-stop since Poppy's outburst at Il Giardino, desperate texts, based on the way he grimaced at his phone. She slipped into the seat next to him and whispered, "Remy, sweetheart, you look like a man who needs a lifeline." With a thinly concealed contempt, he gazed at her and said, "Unless that lifeline involves a time machine, I'm not interested." Sheila grinned, having completed her investigation. Remy needed to win, and Sheila needed a pawn. "What if I told you I could give you the Forrester account on a silver platter?" Remy's investing firm was hemorrhaging money after a bad gamble on a Dubai textile deal. Remy's mouth tightened. "I'd say you're crazier than the tabloids claim." "Am I?" She sipped her drink and let the stillness grow. With a velvety voice, she stepped closer and said, "Steffi's marriage is collapsing. Ridge is distracted. And Hope is so focused on being a moral compass that she's missing the knife in her back. Someone is persuasive. You only need someone on the inside." Remy seemed less determined. "What's in it for you?" She ran a finger down his arm and said, "A friend in high places. And a small insurance policy against the Forresters. Lately, they have been acting somewhat antagonistically toward me." After ignoring Finn's calls, deleting his texts, and focusing on her work, which she believed was the only thing she could still manage, Steffi marched into Forrester Creations the following morning, her sunglasses masking the traces of a restless night. With a fake sad look, Remy stopped her outside the design studio and said, "Steffi, I was informed about the challenges at home. If you require someone to listen."